It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all. 19 minutes late, but it's time for episode 185 of the Andy and Show, and it's going to be spicy because it's Dragon Week, baby. Joined, as always, eventually, by Remington. Hello there. Do you want to explain to the audience what the hold-up was in the start of the show?
Yeah, as soon as you rang me, my internet went off, and this happened last week. So I think you're sending me either bad vibes or some kind of bug to try and steal all my Bitcoin.
You know what I think it is? I think it's because you've got an entire server network set up farming for Remcoin in your room. Is that correct?
Someone said I was doing my hair. Well, I was undoing my hair. That's true. Mickey's in the house. She's been doing up my garage over at Chateau de la Reine. And yeah, she's been finding old pairs of socks apparently. So I'd like them back. Sergeant Benton's here. Haven't we been here before, Andy? As in Dragon Week?
I think we had a few Dragon months. I don't know if we've had a Dragon Week exactly, because obviously GW and their supply issues, dragons have been delayed. So rather than just giving us dragons as a big release, they're having a full-on Dragon Week to celebrate it, and there are some other dragon-themed releases that they've got as well. So they've tied it all in together to make it seem like it was almost planned. That's the gist of it.
I'm happy to hear they nerfed the Sigmar dragons, which is always welcome.
Yes, we'll get to that shortly.
Nice.
So, Dragon Week, first of all, the juiciest topic of all, obviously, and this is the announcement page. Dragons are going to be arriving. You're going to be able to order them very, very soon, and they're going to be having all kinds of dragony goodness, apparently. And what that translated to so far was not only more info, but also they had this little history of dragons here. It's going to be interesting for old school gamers like us. So, look at those really old dragons. Have you had anything that old in your collection, dragon-wise?
The closest I've got is a Chaos Familiar dragon. That's the closest and smallest dragon I've got. It's a really nice model, actually.
They're quite comical, aren't they? Obviously, the limitations at the time of moulding and the wings, not exactly great, are they? Especially that one on the right.
I like the one on the left. I like the red one myself.
Red one is a bit nicer.
It's nice. Yeah. That'd be nice, wouldn't it, to have a little pet dragon?
Then, what about this thing
Oh,
here?
I had that dragon. I had that as actually a high elf dragon rider. And yeah, that was one of the first miniatures I had. I actually sold it in the end. It's really difficult to actually glue that thing together because it's really heavy metal.
I'm not at all surprised that that's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. So the back tail come off, the head come off, and the two wings were especially heavy. But yeah, I probably spent about 20 years trying to paint that beast. I spent hours when I was a kid painting each scale, and I never even got to use it. I think I've still got the rider somewhere, or the saddle. But yeah. Yeah, decent model for its time.
And Remington's picture disappeared, and your audio quality suddenly improved as well, weirdly.
Amazing. That's fantastic.
So, on that note, what about this one? Imperial Dragon, nicknamed the Chicken Dragon. Now, they've got it painted in a really bizarre style here.
Yeah, that's weird.
It looks vaguely golden to me.
Yeah, but it's not. That's not a model, is it? That's a painting.
I don't think so. It wouldn't be showing us just a piece of artwork.
Oh, it's
Very
very
strange.
strange.
I don't remember
Indeed.
seeing that one before.
Let's recall that dragon, or is it a rendering?
Now, this is a classic. I am a big fan of this dragon, but not the box art paint scheme here. This one is bad. Just not a very nice paint job for a zombie dragon at all. There's a really nice, really pale white one that they did. Way better. This one is not very good.
Yeah, they didn't have access to a lot of colours back then, did they? They were all very prime in their colours. But yeah, I don't remember that model. It looks pretty bad. Like a 6-year-old's designed it.
But this zombie dragon, it's on the small side as well. When you look at the rider.
Yeah, is it a 90s dragon? 1990s?
This was definitely available during the 90s. I remember seeing it
It's
a
so
lot.
bad. 80s miniatures were way better than 90s miniatures.
Well, as we continue, now this became the iconic dragon pose during the 90s. They all had the big mouth open, big hands out, rah. And this one, I think this is one of the last ones that they did in that style.
That's a beautiful paint job, actually. That's really, really amazing, that model.
That one is. I'm not sure about the wing membranes. Obviously, they're still using the plastic wing template that was used on all the dragons in the 90s, all the wyverns.
Yeah, simply because metal wings were just too heavy.
Too heavy, and presumably it was much cheaper to just do a plastic mold wings and then hit.
Well, it's very difficult to drill through metal, isn't it, and make a pin, I would imagine. But you know that elf face? I love those elven faces. They remind me of John Blanche's artwork. So I think this is sort of this period of time was the closest they've come to sort of replicating his artwork.
Now, this is one I saw a lot of back in the day as well.
I don't remember that. I was out of it in the 90s, though, to be fair.
This is the classic Egrim van Horstman, who I'm disappointed that I never purchased and held on to. Never bought this one. If I have any one dragon, it might just be this one. It's definitely among the coolest of the dragons. There was this one, the Wood Elf Forest Dragon, and the Zombie Dragon, which is a little bit behind the others. But this one definitely, with its two heads, really cool, classic looking chaos armor top. Very nice. And this is a very good paint job as well. They do the wings a lot better justice in this paint job than have in. Very spicy, very nice. I always found it quite amusing though that all the monsters came on these bases. Tiny. The Marauder Giant also came on a base that was that size. That didn't fit at all.
So you had like elf dragons, you had some imperial dragons, and you had chaos dragons, and you had zombie dragons.
And what about this? Dark elf dragons. Very sinister looking.
Yeah, it's a bit of a jumble, isn't it?
Yeah, that camera angle doesn't really do it justice. It's hard to see which body part's which.
Now, were dragons popular on the gaming table back then, Andy?
I saw a lot of them. But I only played against a limited player group. So we didn't have a lot of dragons, but anytime I went into a GW shop, big game going on, you'd always see a dragon or two. At the weekends, they would have big 5 people per side. Everyone just has units, usually. And then, you know what? I think this one is not very good. Just doesn't look right. Obviously, it's all weird and chaotic, but it just, like anything.
Was this Golroch, the Chaos Dragon? Or was that a different model?
Highly detailed chaos dragon festooned with strange sigils and gribbly bits.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't think
that's
they
a
really
mess.
name any of them in this article, but
Yeah,
it's
that's a
just
mess, man. Just move right on. That looks like something out of The Thing
yeah,
movie, John
not a
Carpenter.
dragon. This one, I'm not that keen on. I think the head is cool, but maybe not as part of a dragon.
I mean, Andy, what's not to like? You've got bare naked lady riding a dragon with a whip.
The wings are a nice
Fantastic.
change from the plastic wings that were on every single dragon previously, and there's just something about it. The proportions. I think the head's a bit big, maybe.
Well, this one's still around, isn't it? This one.
It will be.
It is.
Not a huge fan of that one. It does have some nice elements. Then there's this one, High Elf Dragon, which is clearly very similar to the one that you said that you had from the old school days, which was very similar pose and the same kind of rock base, but just brought up to modern standards. Thoughts on this one?
Bit meh. Don't like the head of the dragon, really.
Yeah, it's not that amazing, really. I like the seat and the rider there. That's quite stylish. The actual dragon, though, not totally sure on. Then, modern times, of course, the mighty Stardrake. Definitely a worthy successor to the dragons. Little did we know at the time that Stormcast would be essentially the only faction that would be allowed any dragons.
Of course, Andy, they're missing all the Forge World dragons that we had, aren't they?
Some of those are nice, some of them aren't the best.
Yeah, did you enjoy painting this one?
Stardrake, yes, that was one of the most fun models.
Nice. Yeah, I think have I killed your Stardrake before?
I'm sure you have killed it at least once or twice.
Yeah.
Killed plenty of your stuff, though. And then now, of course, the new dragons. Frondis, Arazai. The big lads.
So are they separate? How does this work? Is it one box?
One kit, and they have very similar pose, but then a couple of
Right.
pieces different. I think the tail pose is a bit different, maybe, and different head. One has armor on, the other one doesn't. This star running down the front, so a few pieces will be different.
Yeah, I'd like it without the armbands, please.
I don't know. I like that. I think it breaks up the model a bit. If I was just painting nothing but scales,
It's like he's learning to swim and he's got armbands on.
they're magical dragon gauntlets.
Of course. So it's not as if you're a big flying monster with a vicious bite, flappy wings, serpentine tail, and claws, and flaming breath. You need magic as well.
Well, it is 600 points, so come on.
Good. Good.
That's where we've left off the dragon trail right now. So
Yeah.
at some point, I'm definitely going to have to get one of these just to renew my Stormcast collection. And I think it would be this variant rather than slightly more evil bro. Next page. So you already mentioned this a little bit. Before we go on to the points adjustment for the dragons, let's have a look at the chat, because it seems like a lot of conversation going on there. So has Mickey actually told us where she's been, instead of commenting on our shows?
She's been in a garage. So let's get Mickey on the show. How about that? We're getting guests every week. Unfortunately, Zato, aka Skeleton Flower, couldn't make it tonight.
Yes, that was unfortunate. Zato was supposed to be on the show, but was struck down by illness this morning, sadly. So we're going to have to attempt to rearrange that particular show.
We're looking for guests, and you've seen our track record. We've had a lot of A-listers. We've had, obviously, Joey Barry came on, and that doubled your viewing, didn't it, Andy?
That episode did well compared to other recent episodes.
Yeah, we've had Sean from Blue Table Painting, which was highly, highly enjoyable. I'm in shock you managed to get him on, Andy. That was phenomenal. You had someone, a leader in the Caradron over Overlord community come on, which was interesting. I
Definitely
think you
been
enjoyed the show.
definitely been upping our guest game.
But you know, if
Recent.
you're in the audience, you want to appear on the show, just let Andy know. You can let him know on Discord. You can let him know in the chat. And yeah, come on, have fun. You better be prepared though. And by that I mean you might be asked to sing a song or two. But there
Might
you
be.
go. There's always a price to pay for fame.
So, had anyone out there already built 1,000 dragons from just other kit? They are probably the only people that are going to be hurt by W's move here, because the dragons they've increased the points for aren't actually available to order yet. So it's a weird precedent to set that they're nerfing something before it's actually available to buy.
Well, I
And
did read the article, Andy, and apparently they've had more time to play test during this global supply chain problem. And they realised that, as I've been saying, even without needing to play against those forces, that they were incredibly overpowered.
well,
And they were finding that they were just steamrolling armies before they even could do anything.
So it should be pointed out that this doesn't apply to the two big dragons. Their points have stayed the same because they're already obscenely expensive. Some people think too expensive. It is the other knight, the dragon knights, the ones you see in the background there.
Yeah, they come in a pair, don't they, Andy?
They come as a pair, but you can also run them as a unit of one, because you can build the knight out of the kit. Well, the leader of them.
Yeah,
in the same way that you
each
can.
turn they need to roll a dice, and if they roll a 6, they crash into each other and start to attack each other, and one of them dies.
Well, that's not how it goes for you, sadly. But they say they had more time to playtest. People in the community are a bit skeptical of that statement, suggesting that perhaps it was just incredibly obvious the whole time that they were underpointed. People in the community, as soon as the points were revealed for them, they were planning full all dragon lists.
Yeah.
People could tell that they were too cheap immediately.
Why do people do that, Andy? It's really annoying, isn't it?
People want
Do you know what I
an
mean?
edge
I remember
in
one of the first
competitive
Age of
play.
Sigmar tournaments. Someone just did Savage Orcs, and they had this rule where they get 2 shots in a turn, like the bowmen, and they ended up just having an army full of these, literally just full of bowmen, and won the tournament. It's like, why do people spam stuff? It's just so boring.
Because quite often when lists are written, there'll be a couple of units that are just too cheap. And unless you have some other way of balancing it, they kind of have it a little bit by forcing you to take a little bit of a varied list, battle line units and such, otherwise you can't score objectives, that type of thing. But in terms of building your army, you have quite a lot of freedom, Sigmar, compared to other game systems. Generally, certain units will be like limited, you can only take one of this if you have some of this as well. You remember how it used to be in Warhammer, where you would have like the core units and the special rare?
Yeah.
So it was impossible to just spam nothing but Blood Knights.
Yeah.
In Age of Sigmar, that's not the ethos they've gone with. They want you to be able to pick whatever you think looks cool and fit it into an army.
That is cool, but when you say looks cool, a lot of these spammy armies, they're actually terrible paint jobs because they've just tried to get them out so fast. So it's like a double whammy. You know what I mean? One, you've got an army that's really dumb, and 2, it's painted really terribly, and 3, they win the tournament. I mean, that's a triple sucker punch right there, isn't it?
Well, I am a fan of rules that force you to take more of a balanced in competitive games. I don't like to see just endless spam of the. But generally, something's too good, and then they adjust the points on it, and then something else is too good, and people rush to get that ready for the tournament. Sell the old stuff on eBay, and then a couple of years later, the stuff that was really good before is now amazing again, so they blow the dust off it and get it out on the table again. A cycle that some people choose to keep up with. Other people like us just get a bit of everything, and then if something's really good, then maybe we might have 2 of it rather than 8.
Well, you did try that with those crossbows, didn't you? Those giant ballistas.
Ballistas, I only had 3, to be fair.
Yeah. That
I've
didn't
heard
go so
people
well for you, did
mention.
it?
I've heard people mention that ballista lists with 5 in there. Not so much now. They're not considered to be good at the moment, sadly.
Huh.
But anyway, they've increased the points on them before release. So if people were planning out their army lists, they won't have ordered 10 dragons when actually they can only fit 7 or 8 in there. They won't have excess. Probably a good move. If they were going to change the points, it's best to do it now before people, and then there would be an outrage, wouldn't there?
Yeah, sorry, I've got an itchy eye.
Hey,
I'm just thinking it's about time Age of Sigmar ended, really, isn't it? We've had the Age of Sigmar. Let's have the age of something else now.
you
You
think
know?
each edition should be the age of something else?
Yeah.
Or you think Sigmar should come down, there should be a model for Sigmar himself, and then he gets killed, and we move on
Yep.
to the age of... Who would it be the next age?
Well, I was just thinking about that. You could, well, Age of Marathi. Age of
Some would say it's
Age,
already the
I don't
age of
know.
Marathi, it's just that you don't own one yet.
Mickey said Age of Slanesh. It's funny because I was listening to a Slanesh podcast today and thinking, like, the head of Knights of Slanesh, that's an army I'd consider getting. I mean, they're not, they're not very popular competitively, but I love the vibe. I like the fat guy on the troll on the sort of palanquin, eating loads of food and getting fed by halflings. Love that. And then you've got all the bliss barb archers, these sort of foxy Arabic-looking ladies with bows. And then you've got the Hollywood guys with the Botox. It's kind of funny. I'm intrigued by that army, actually. Must admit.
So Dark House Gaming says, Defo having some new shiny new dragons with me, hee hee. Yes, I'm going to get a dragon, probably this one. The Dragon Knight, I don't know when, but I'll probably end up adding those eventually, but they're not on my priority list at the moment.
You want a big dog, don't you? Mickey says Age of Slanesh. Sergeant Benton, yes, sir, says the Age of Remcon. Now that would be a hit, wouldn't it?
The Age of Rem Coin. The currency
Remcoin.
that's so bad for the environment that it cancels out all the good work you've done with Clean Justice.
Clean Justice. Do you remember Clean Justice?
Yes, it was last week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was amazing. A little bit passed over, unfortunately, by Netflix.
Anyway, so these guys, more expensive in points. Still cool models, though.
Yeah, they are cool models.
They also have more impressive flight stands, I think, previous. Let me actually see them, not in that shot. Now, it's a bit smoky in the background there. I don't think you can actually see.
I mean, we got to ask the question now: is there anything Sigmarines, don't have? They've got chariots now, dragons.
They don't have another artillery piece to go with the ballista.
What sort of artillery piece would you like? I'm sure
Some
they'll
kind of
provide it.
celestial catapult firing comet fragments. How does that sound? Like a comet trebuchet.
Comet trebuchet. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, put your ideas for more Age of Sigmar models. Actual, Stormcast Eternal models, that is, because I don't think we have enough varied ones. So let's try and think of some more.
Yes, only Stormcast though, because obviously other factions don't need. No. So, speaking of models and large, impressive models, I've been assembling. Bum 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 bum. The mighty Ironclad.
Oh wow, God, it's a big beast, isn't it?
It is a big beastie.
There's a lot of pieces just to make that.
Yes, there are 3 mega sprues.
Wow.
And at the moment, I can't really start painting it until I found some way to grip it while painting.
Yeah.
And the actual flight stand, it comes not fit for purpose at all. It's fine for the gun hauler because that's about a quarter weight of this, but this just goes and So I've
right.
ordered some clear acrylic rods. I'm gonna find spots to insert them.
Well, you mean it doesn't actually stand up on the stand provided?
Unless you glue it on there, and then
Okay.
it could just snap then.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to
Well,
risk that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put probably this bit of Age of Sigmar ruin on the base, and then put some acrylic rod in that way. That's my plan. And then when I've got the rod in there, I'll actually be able to attach it to something that I can hold, paint it. And then I've got the turret, well, and it does have quite a few gun options. So for the turret, actually,
I mean, Andy, wouldn't you?
got some
Why don't you
pins
paint
there.
them? Paint them now. Paint the small bits and then glue them.
Because I don't want to have to touch up over all the bits where it's stuck together. I'm going to paint the turret separately and all the crew separately. But I've got two little pins sticking out the turret there, so I can switch the gun over.
Do you get a lot of crew members with this model?
Yes.
More than 2?
Well, I'll tell you how many there are. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of them is just dangling off the side of the ship with a paintbrush.
Nice.
Which is probably the coolest member of the crew. And in fact, I'll hold him right up to the... There we go. That. Little paintbrush in hand, very impressive. So looking forward to painting those. What I've been painting though, and this guy could actually be finished tomorrow if I speed through it. Lord Commander Bastion.
Okay, cool. That's come on a bit, isn't it? He's a bit of a badass, isn't he? That guy.
He definitely is. Some very spicy rules on him. My favourite, of course, being that if he kills anything, then at the end of the turn he gets all his wounds back.
That seems fair. So he could be on 1 wound. He kills a goblin, gets all his wounds back.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So you don't want him fighting your goblins. Otherwise he will not die.
No.
And of course he's got the 4-up ward save as well.
Yeah, you basically the only way to get that guy is to put Gotrek on him.
Yes. One-on-one battle he would not like at all, because then he wouldn't be getting his wounds back. So it only works if he actually kills a... Although if he kills a model with his other abilities, I think it still triggers though. So he could potentially do it.
How about that? Yes, I think that should be the storyline. Gotrek gets so annoyed with the Stormcast Eternals that he fights his way up to Azir to, kills a bunch of like Stormcast heroes, including that guy, and he actually faces Sigmar and headbutts him to death or something, and that's the end. How about that?
I could see
And then
somebody...
we get back to Warhammer Fantasy.
I don't know if that's going to happen though. I don't think that anyone's going to headbutt Sigmar to death. I would like to see Sigmar on the battlefield as like a final act of desperation because things aren't going well, and then it's killed, and then we move on to the Age of something.
Yes.
That would be a cool way to move on Saga.
One thing I was interested in, Andy, talking of timelines and that, they had they had Archaon on Lawmasters on Warhammer Plus. I can't remember what week it was on. Maybe it was the most recent one.
I haven't watched that one.
Yeah, it's good. So when the old world ends, Archaon somehow survives. How does he do that? Everything got blown up.
I think the way they've explained it with a lot of them is that either they were preserved somehow by the gods, or they were trapped in kind of other realm. They were so powerful that their essence was stored somewhere, and then they were then rejuvenated some thousands of years later. Which is obviously just a way for them to include some of the pre-end times models.
Yeah.
Some of the actual end time.
Or
just some of the heroes rebooted, because people like a bit of the old familiarity.
They do. One thing that surprised me was that when certain Stormcast heroes were revealed, I was hoping you'd get one like, that used to be Karl Franz, but this is the new Karl Franz, right? that could be kind of good. It would link things, but they didn't do that, did they? Some of a lot of the heroes we knew in the old world didn't really come back. But surely you think they would have been in the mix to combat someone like him.
That
Anyway,
that would be pretty cool, actually, wouldn't it? If just in amongst the Stormcast had maybe a head sculpt that was eerily similar to a model in the old world. That'd be quite.
right, yeah. So yeah, I think everyone's waiting, Andy, to see my latest paint jobs. That's what
Well,
I've
shall we
been.
skip to that now then, and then come back to the rest of the. Okay, here we go. So, what is all this? It looks like the Cursed City contents to me.
Yeah, we reached Halloween. Things got a bit dark. I've been shutting my blinds. I thought I'd better finish off. I would like to finish off a Cursed City. Now, this box set is unavailable, and I did manage to pick one up when it first came out. And a couple of weeks later, they decided to just end any support for the game. So it is what it is. It's going to become potentially quite a legendary box set. And I would like to play it with you, Andy, at some point. So I've actually not opened anything apart from the miniatures, and I'm painting them furiously. So I did a lot of the sort of the bad guys, and all the zombies, the skeletons, and I've just got my heroes basically left, a bunch of rats and some bats. So I did on a previous show off my the elf and witch hunter Jelson there, but I've recently painted the lady with the sword and the hardest miniature I've ever painted, her, the one in red. Really hard to paint. I struggled with that. Took me ages. Um,
So we've
there's
got.
Andy's close-ups. They actually look pretty
Yeah, they
cool.
do actually. I'm not doing the close-ups to try and make your paint jobs look bad, contrary to what you may believe.
No, I know they do help. It does help. It does help me.
So we've got a bit of sword action going on here. This nice old school looking ogre, very reminiscent of the very old ogres, where a lot
Yeah,
of them would have that kind of blade, a knuckle.
yeah. I might touch him up a bit more, that ogre. But I was immensely proud of the lady with the sword, and the sword was actually felt a bit boring, just silver. So I thought I would do some kind of glow coming from it, and maybe some reflective green on her face. It
Well,
was very late at night.
swords is one of and blades in general is one of the things I haven't really tried anything advanced on. Typically, it's just silver, a black wash, and then edge highlight. So next time I start a new army of some kind, then I might try something a bit more exciting on the armory.
Yeah, have a look at one of Vince Venturella's videos. He does. He's done a few on swords. They look pretty good. Mickey says she likes the ogre dude. Thank you very much.
And then this one, is this the one that was difficult? The lady in red here
Yeah,
with the
yeah. Because
danglage.
well, you know those sort of stiletto knives she's got. You wouldn't believe just how small all those details are. And I think my eyesight's deteriorating, Andy, because I've really struggled with those. And
We zoom in and see how you've done.
I've
She
got
looks like you've hit all the right spots there.
it's a bit glumpy, the painting, but and I don't know why, but I drew a white line down her staff. So I've definitely got to tidy that up because that looks a bit messy. But I experimented on her sort of back plate, doing like about 8 washes of Reichland flesh tone. So yeah, it kind of worked. I kind of copied the Games Workshop color scheme, to be honest. But I
Valid
think
strategy.
I think mine will look a bit more vibrant than theirs. And when I've often said, when you go close up and see the Games Workshop models, you know, face to face and not touched up by cameras and whatnot, they don't look as good as in the pictures.
Stu says Cursed City was actually a good little game if you guys get the chance to play it. So,
Yeah,
find out.
I've watched 15, 20 minutes of a playthrough, and it was just felt like there was loads of rules. I didn't quite get it, Andy. So I'm going to have to leave it with you for a night or two, so you can get those.
Lots of
And
skeletons here, rats.
yeah, Yeah, of course, you might have heard about the Christmas boxes coming, and so I'm tempted by the. That's what did it really. In those Christmas boxes, I was tempted to
And
get the. Yes,
speaking of
talking of box.
Christmas,
Yeah, yeah, nice link, Andy. Yeah, what is that? Now we show last week's show. I think we talked about this fella. You can look at my camera. It is
you need to
Warhammer.
move it slightly more
Oh
into
yeah,
shot.
my camera's there. Warhammer
Yep.
commemorative season series, right? And that is the Red Gobbo. And I was led to believe from the website that this was mail order only. Um, what's it called? Made to order, that is. And it will come by Easter. That's literally what it says on the website because we read it together. Anyway, I went into the model shop on Saturday, and there was a bunch of red gobbos with Bouncer, the the what's it we call it, the red thing with teeth. Squig, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you'll have to get that painted up, and we can have a special Christmas bonanza battle featuring Red Gobbo.
Yeah, I mean, but then I realised after I bought it that it's actually a 40k model and it's got 40k rules with it. But yeah, it wasn't. I had it. It was from a discount shop, so it was about £18.50 instead of £22. But it felt, I don't know, I felt like a bit of a mug when I came home because I could have bought like a unit.
Well, speaking of miniatures that are difficult to get hold of, for a while I've been looking for an affordable Jacob Bugmanson, the clearly Caradron themed descendant of the legendary Joseph Bugman.
Yeah.
And on eBay, the typical going rate for them seems to be about £25.
Right.
And I thought, see if I can get it cheaper. Just random killer that happens to have it in stock. Most of the big ones are sold out because people would have cleaned. But I did find a slightly smaller retailer that had a few of them for about £21. And I put it in
That was its retail price, Andy.
Yeah, it's around there, wasn't it? Can't get it from G. And thought, okay, I'll have that. What's their free postage threshold? And it turned out that was like £80. And that's obviously how they get you. And I thought, okay, I really want this model. What else can I throw in there? What other models will I want at some point over the next few months that I can justify just throwing in, but kept in the shrink wrap, that if I don't get round to them, I can always just sell them on at their price and not make a loss. And if I do get round to them, great that I've saved on the postage. So I decided to get the other Caradron Overlord's ship, the frigate, the middle one. That's going to sit in the cupboard for a while until I get round to that. Some of the new Annihilators with the big juicy hammers. So I'll get round to that. Well, and some more Dracoths. So I've only got 2, and obviously could do with some more, and I can make the other 2 into one of the different variants. So those things are going to be added to the.
Nice. Well, yeah, you've been splashing out, haven't you, Andy? Which is unlike you. Have you had a windfall recently? What's the story?
No, not at all. But it's
Nice.
I've been really like combining the hobby spending that I would have been doing over the next few months into that one purchase.
Yeah. Is it not that the videos are gaining so many streams now that you're getting YouTube royalties?
That would be nice if I was making millions from YouTube and Patreon, but that's not the case. That does pay for a couple of things here and there, some paints and whatnot.
Oh, that's nice. So yeah, we've had. I suppose you're going to touch on the news, aren't you? The rest of the news? No, we've got more paint jobs.
It's from Cedar.
Wow.
Posted on the Discord server.
Nice. I love the flowers as well. They're cool.
Very nice. I like the wing. We've had a lot of wing membrane discussion, I think, but that's a nice one there.
Yeah. Nice. Flesh eater course.
And the flesh is very good on this one.
They've kind of run out of ideas for flesh eater cores, haven't they? You've got the Vargeist, you've got Terrorgeist, and you've got Ghouls and Crypt Horrors, and that's kind of it, isn't it?
Okay, next, what we're looking at. So, things that are available to order very soon, like within the next week. Dragons, big dragons, Storm Drake Guard, with the mega flying stands, and
£80, 40, £60.
so I believe that the big dragons are going to be 95, and the small dragons in a set of 2 are going to be 8. Precise. So,
Yeah.
not too ridiculous when you consider the price of a mega gargant, rolling in at 105.
Wow.
So they don't seem too expensive when you compare them to that. But these flight stands look like a bit of an improvement. The flimsy one. Ironclad. Then for Warhammer 40,000, we've got some old classic made to order stuff. Very old school looking there.
Are these Black Templars?
Yes.
Yeah. So a Black Templar's basically like witch hunters.
In some ways, you could say that all the Space Marines are kind of...
Yeah.
I mean, you get that impression with the Angels of Death, that any time there's anything that's not a Space Marine that comes into view, they're like eyeing it suspiciously immediately and like putting their finger on their trigger. Blood Bowl Dungeon Bowl is be available. Goblin team accessories, a Goblin pitch Blood Bowl, Goblin dice, Necromander, a gang of outcasts. Who are cool. They don't really have a cohesive look to them because they're just like outcasts.
Oh,
Point.
Are these like AI models then in the game, or are they actual faction?
I assume they're just a faction that don't fit into any of the gangs.
Oh.
So they're not bad. And obviously they need a book, because that's how it goes. You need 4 new books every time you buy a model. Then Zone Mortalis Underhive Market. Market stalls stuff. Necromander.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cards, and this creature that we looked at and decided was a little bit odd looking. Some cool elements to it, but overall I don't...
Wow.
That great.
That's a Necromander model.
Yes. Certain parts of it I think look amazing. Other parts, not so much. Bit all over the place.
That's mental.
And then Lord of the Rings. So there's a lot of new stuff coming out in the next couple of... Lord of the Rings, Battle in Aylin's Tomb, which looks like a little standalone. Titanicus, these new tiny little knights. Some collectible stuff. I'm sure Remington's going to be all over this. You know how he loves this stuff, and certainly wouldn't be caught dead saying, "What's the point of that? What can you do with it?" I'm sure he's going to be pre-ordering all 3.
Yeah.
As well as the Purity Seal. Going to be all over that, no doubt. And Age of Sigmar keyrings. Sigmarite Shield. Now, people may not know this about me, but I do actually have a vast keyring collection. So I don't have any Age of Sigmar keyrings, though. So I could actually be tempted by the Sigmarite Shield. Depending how expensive they are.
Now, what does it say on the Purity Seal, Andy? Because I've always wondered.
Let's see, what does it say? Too tiny on my screen at the moment. Let's enhance.
What do I do with it? Do I wear it on my jumper?
Is it actually getting any bigger when I zoom in? Browser isn't me. Nope, it's not getting any bigger at all. It's just increased text size. Can't really look at that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Got some books. some new Angels of Death out soon. Warhammer Plus. More Lore Masters, Mortarion. Don't see any battle reports on there by the looks of it. And that's that page then. Mickey Jenver has only just noticed the scrolling text at the bottom of the screen. Yes, one of the patrons of this show is actually called Nippleless. Nippleless Cage, to be precise. Okay, next. Battle boxes. Age of Sigmar battle forces, the perfect gift for Mortal Realm. So, let's go through them and rate them out of 10,
Andy,
shall we?
I must admit, if you watched last week's show, I was bang on the money. Because I did say there'd be a Lumineth Realm Lords one, didn't I?
I think you did. So, out of 10, we've got the Revenant Legion, the Soulblight Gravelords. So, in there, you have 66 models, including a Bestial Vengorian Lord, 5 Barded Blood Knights, could be a good selling point for the box there, 20 Deathrattle Skeleton Warriors, and 40 Deadwalker Zombies. So, how do you rate that as a battle force out of 10?
Well, it's got black. It's got.
It does have
yeah,
the
it's got
elusive
Blood
Blood
Knights.
Knights in it, yes.
Amazing. They always felt elusive to buy, didn't they? Because you couldn't really buy them in the shops at any point. The prices kept going up, but now we've got them and you can get them. So yeah, this is tempting, but you get ever so many zombies, don't you? And not so many heroes, but that's fine because I've got a bunch of vampires already. And if you bought the the little what's that? What's the one game? Do you know my mind goes blank when I go on this show? What's that other board game that we haven't played yet?
All of them.
The Age of Sigmar one.
Silver Tower.
No, the skirmish game. Got the,
Warcry.
Yeah, no, it's the other one.
Underworlds.
Yes. So the Underworld one is full of Soulblight Gravelord characters, isn't it? So you got them, and they released individual ones. So it's kind of like getting this would give me quite a rounded out Soulblight Gravelords on me. So yeah, I'm considering it.
So how many Rem coins out of 10?
8.
For me personally, I definitely would not buy this because you know how I feel about Horde armies, Sigmar. Not a fan of moving that many individual models. So the Blood Knights are nice, so that bumps it up. I'd give it a 6. The models are nice, but there's too damn of them. I'm going to have to stop you in your tracks right there momentarily because we just had a super chat.
Wow, that is the first. We've never had super chats before.
We have. It's been a very long while though.
What does it mean?
This is from Reg Show Fan.
Hello, Reg.
So everyone complains about translocate prayer movement, killing paladin movement. I'll explain what this means to the Remingtons in a moment, and then whine about shootcast ignoring the meta they created. I feel like we have to discuss it because this is a premium comment here, paid for in cold hard cash. So, what happened to the Stormcast is prayer translocate used to be able to just teleport units wherever you wanted, and then they could move afterwards. So you know how when Stormcast zap down from the heavens, they're limited because they have to be 9 inches away and then they can't move in the movement phase?
Yes.
With this prayer, you could teleport them somewhere and then they could move afterwards. So they could get within range for a really easy charge.
That seems really unfair.
So just be thankful I never used it on you. However, they've changed it now so that you can't move after you were teleported with the prayer.
Good.
So you'll never have to experience that.
What?
So units like my Retributors, which I very much enjoy using, would have been big beneficiaries of that ability had that combo been used on them. Because they're very, very slow. They would like to just teleport it near the enemy, then move a bit closer and then charge you.
Yeah, but Andy, they
destroyed my...
To be fair, they do destroy your army anyway, even without being teleported around. So people in the competitive scene, perhaps moving slightly away from the paladin units. Apart from the Grand Hammer Annihilators, obviously, because they can just teleport 7 inches and just smash everything to death. Apart from them, people seem to be moving away from some of the other paladins and the Dracoths thing. Especially the ones I don't have, which are the Fulminator, the long spears. So maybe I'll build my Goths into that. Would be nice, wouldn't it? Maybe I'll even get them finished while they're still overpowered or undercosted, which is where you look. Okay. Next battle force, the Hedonites of Slaanesh. Sybarite Blade Carnival. What do you get in this one? You get Shard Speaker, 3 Slangor Fiendbloods, 10 Blissbarb Archers, plus a lowly Homunculus, 5 Exalted Seekers, which can be built as Flick Blades or Blissbarbs, then 10 Elite Warriors you can build as Myrmidesh Painbringers or Frenzied Simbraesh Twin Souls. I think Remington's having difficulties, so you know what? I'm going to cover his camera with a black box there in case he disappears and throws off the... Oh, is he back? Well, you know what, Reg Show fan? I didn't want to address the second half of your comment while Mr. Remington was away. Then you'd only get half your money, wouldn't you?
I'm here.
I think he's back now, so we can actually touch on it now. So, I see the face of Remington.
I've just pressed the pound thing in the chat, and I can potentially send you £500.
Well, why didn't you? Just as a test, obviously.
It said your amount and the message will be public.
Yes.
I should do that then, yeah?
Yes. You should do just about 500 every few minutes. Sounds good. So, shall we look at the other half of the comment now that you're back?
Yep.
So, they whine about the shoot cast ignoring the meta they created. And ignoring is an all cap. They created is an all cap for extra emphasis. So, Reg Showfan, would you like to give us more to chew on there? Would you like to give us your full insight on it so we can comment on it further? While that comment is incoming, what do you think of this Slaanesh battle force?
Okay, well, what's a homunculus?
Don't even know.
I mean, I would have thought you'd have known that, Andy, being...
I feel like this is one of the armies that was released when we were not doing shows.
No, I kind of like some of these warriors. I like the mounted ones and the female ones.
The nice models, apparently very bad in the competitive scene at Slaanesh.
Yeah, I'm not at all bothered about that because, I just like modelling, painting, getting them out there, looking good. It's the fiends in it. I never like the fiends. That's what puts me off. So I'm gonna give this a 6.
6.
But I guess you'd have to weigh up the value because it might be quite value saving to get these.
Well, you know what I think about this one? I think if you compare it to this, you've got the Blood Knights, which are a very sought after kit. In this one, I don't see any big kind of centerpiece unit that makes me really excited about it.
Yeah,
everything's
they
just a
have
bit.
One, though.
There's nothing that's too exciting in there for me. So
yeah,
I would give this one a 5, actually. They're nice
5,
enough models, but there's nothing, just a big central piece that grabs you like the Blood Knights.
Yeah, fair point, I suppose, yeah.
How about the Vanari Shining Host, the Lumineth Realm Lords? So, let's go through what you have here. You have Aurelon Wardens, Blade Lords, Dawn Riders, Shah Starred Ballista, all led by Venari Bannerblade and a Lord Regent. So plenty of stuff there. And I don't see too many of the kind of weird hammery type units.
No.
I'm not sure I see
They-
any, actually.
They actually have a lot of options in their roster, don't they?
I don't see any of the croquet mallets.
No, but you do get the sword guys. You don't get the kangaroo riders, and you don't get any of the sort of wizard guys sitting on clouds, which are for me the best models.
You do get lots of the swords and the spears, which are probably cooler looking than the hammers.
It looks like a decent set there, I think. If you've bought some of the individual characters and the cool looking ones, this would be the thing that fleshes it out, I guess, right?
I think just because I like ballistas, that's going to bump it up to a 6 for me. How about you?
Yeah, I'd give it slightly more than the Hedonites, even though I'd probably get the Hedonites because I think they're a more interesting army. But yeah, this looks a bit more rounded out, doesn't it? You've got artillery, you've got a cool hero, you've got cavalry, you've got combat, and you've got defense battle line there. So yeah, this is the most rounded out one, I'd say.
Then
So I'd give it a 7.
we've got for the Ossiarch Bone Reaper, Mortizan Tithe Echelon, which is a really weird name. But anyway, this definitely has big stuff in it. So, what do we have? Mortizan Bone Shaper and a Soul Reaper, 20 Mortec Guard, 3 Necropolis Stalkers, or 3 Guard, Gothizar Harvester, Mortec Crawler.
Well, this one looks like the most value because you're getting big gribblies in there.
You've got lots of big stuff in this one. You don't have as many bodies as you do in Old Black Gravelord. But you do have some of the cooler stuff. I'm not that crazy about the aesthetic of this army, but I do kind of like their rank and file basic skeleton. I think they're actually fairly cool. So that's a bit of a selling point. Some of the bigger stuff, it's hit or miss, this army in general, I think. I don't think I would ever move towards it. I think I would prefer to go for more traditional undead rather than this. But as a battle force, got what you want really. Troops and it's got the juicy stuff. So I'm going to give this one a 7.
Yeah, I mean you have to disregard your personal preference for the army, I suppose. So I think, I'd give this an 8, really, because what you're getting a huge gribbly, even though I don't like any of those gribblies at all, and they look silly. The chat's going crazy, Andy. Mickey Genver says Andy does not represent value for money, so that sounds controversial there.
That's a very controversial take that I don't think would be supported by anybody else. Yeah.
No, Remington Steele, lol. Stu Gibson, I still think the Bone Reapers are the most visually unappealing army GW's ever made. I would agree with that.
That could actually be true. Can't think of another one where the entire range is slightly unappealing.
The centerpiece, the King model, he is amazing. But that's it.
They have some cool elements to them, and there are some nice ideas in there, but the execution looks a little bit cobbled together in places. For example, if we look at this big bone thing at the back there, it looks very similar to things that already exist in other actions and other systems. It looks very similar to one of the 40k Chaos models.
Does.
And some of it looks very similar to the Necrons as well.
Yeah. I think they went Necrons meets Tomb Kings, didn't they?
Kind of did, and I'm not sure worked very well. You would think that those two things would mesh together very well, but I think I would consider this whole army aesthetically overall.
Yeah, I mean the catapult's kind of cool idea, isn't it? An arachnid, bone arachnid thing multiple legs is kind of scary cool. And
Well-
the hero in the middle, animating that body in the air, it's pretty awesome
I
concept.
like the idea of the army, especially once I watched the Nagash Lore Masters video, and I learned about the backstory to them, about how Nagash now feels that he owed bones.
Right.
So he sends his forces out there to collect bones and construct more forces for him from the bones, which is what these guys are.
I like collecting models, I do. I think they're better value than bones, personally.
Probably. I don't think it's actually legal to own human remains in this country, is it?
Probably not. That's an interesting. I'll have
Some
to look
parts of
that
the
up.
US I know that you can do it. There have been documentaries about people skeletons.
But it's pretty sad, really, isn't it? He just wants to collect bones. That's something weird.
Well,
about that.
Nagash did want to collect souls, apparently, but then souls were being like hijacked by other gods,
Well,
using them for
yes.
other purposes, and Nagash wasn't happy, which is why he started going after the bones as well.
I suppose you can't build an empire with souls, can you? Because they're sort of immaterial. But with bones, you can actually build castles and thrones and walls and things, can't you?
And he certainly does that. So,
Mm,
also
okay.
got this Maggotkin of Nurgle box,
Yeah,
which
boring.
isn't the same kind of thing. This is a smaller set by the looks of it.
Right.
Yeah, a few
so,
bits in there, but wouldn't all the Nurgle players already have this stuff? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if existing Nurgle players would need to add to their collection. It's not really anything
Well,
new or exciting in there. And would it encourage you to start a whole new army?
yes, it would. And if I wanted to collect an army, I would be tempted to get this box because I don't own any Nurgle. But if I did, this would be a great box because you got the fly guys, you've got the plaguey guys, you've got some big gribblies there.
Is this the new
And
Start Collecting box then? Are they calling them
yeah, so
Vanguard now?
that's correct. These are going to replace start collecting things, which is kind of tasty. I think that's a decent mix.
Because the Start Collecting box is pretty good. People may know that I bought 2 of the Caradron Overlord Start Collecting boxes. The second one
Yeah.
hasn't actually been opened yet. But they do represent good value if you're going to use most of the models within them.
So I
Okay.
think these are going to be more expensive though than start collecting boxes.
Yeah, these ones definitely will, but they'll be limited battle forces.
Yeah,
So-
I'll have to see calculate the value you're getting when I see the prices, but they're usually decent
Mickey
value.
Jenver is throwing around some scandalous accusations here that Remington's garage actually has remains at human bones.
Well, we'd like to see some pictures really for evidence of that. In fact, we'd like to see Mickey on the show.
Why not?
So get your camera on, join us. It'll be a laugh.
Long-time community members always welcome on this show, unless we do digging into their personal lives as the show research and find out that they're actually pure evil. So, on the topic of pure evil, so GW put out a statement that shouldn't be too controversial, but apparently was in some quarters. So, you may be aware that there is a certain section of population who follow less than endearing ideologies, shall we say, and that some of those people gravitate towards the Imperium of Man in the 40k universe, the way it's depicted. And GW have had to, because of an incident, which I'll go into in a minute, they've had to distance themselves from that and point out that actually the Imperium of Man is supposed to be a satirical look at the worst that humanity could possibly turn to over the next thousands. It's like the worst case scenario if humanity embraces all its worst. This is what
Kind
you
of
could end
like-
up with. So you shouldn't be worshipping this, is what they're saying.
It's kind of like turning up to Andy Palooza, isn't it?
Well, what sparked this, people believe, is there was a 40k tournament, I believe it was 40k, in Spain, and somebody turned up wearing attire adorned with logos of for example, I don't know. I don't think it was actually like Nazi logos. I think it was something very similar, though, from my understanding. So, and then people refused to play against this person, understandably, who was there to try and obviously cause a ruckus, probably. And then that person ended up being awarded wins because of the rules of the tournament. People refused to play against him. So GW have decided that they're going to distance themselves from people and point out, look, you should not be worshipping the Emperor. It's satire.
I'd like to see a picture of the guy and what he's wearing before I make a judgment. I mean,
well, I don't think you really need to. I think you get the idea.
no, I don't have an idea. I mean, he could have been wearing that stuff satirically. I mean, we had an air show near where I lived, and a Second World War thing. And as a joke, I was going to turn up in an SS uniform. But then when I saw the photos, lots of people are dressed up in various SS uniforms because they were recreating a battle from the Second World War.
Well,
So
in one breath, I'm going to jump to your defense and say, in a historical context, things are potentially different. On the other hand, I would say I'm very pleased you didn't do that.
yeah, but I mean, it depends. If he was wearing it to provoke people in a bad way, that's bad, isn't it?
I think
Just
just wearing
wearing-
that stuff in general, probably not a good idea in the world today.
Maybe not in the world today, but what if I
When
dressed
would
up
it have been
as
a good idea?
Okay, what if I dressed up as a Roman legionary? I mean, for certain cultures at certain times, that would have been the most abhorrent thing. But as time passes, it just becomes okay. You just dress up as a Roman legionary. They were really bad, weren't they? And you go, yes, they were. Doesn't mean
Yes.
you endorse them just because you're wearing it, because you've just
Well,
come in fancy
there's no
dress.
one alive today who themselves or their parents were conquered or enslaved by the Romans. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, Stu's put. He thinks it's really shocking that the guy was allowed to compete. I'd need to know more. I mean, did he turn up and if he identified himself as a Nazi, then okay. But I mean, I
think
might have just humoured the guy.
people are usually a little bit too clever to do that. Just outright identify themselves in that way.
But he is by wearing that stuff, isn't he?
Yes.
So was he wearing it and saying, "I'm not a Nazi. I'm just wearing it because it's fancy dress," and I thought people would come in fancy dress, like.
I don't know if he actually had an excuse like that lined up or not. Or whether he was trying to be provocative, or whether this is how he dresses at the time. Somehow hasn't been in the face a lot yet.
But the thing is, if they'd actually just competed against him, wouldn't that be the ultimate revenge? By beating him on the war table, and he didn't get any fame or fortune because he just got defeated. But by refusing to play him and giving him the victories, it gave him more publicity. So wouldn't it be counter, intuitive to actually just play the guy, beat him, and get him on the lower rungs of the table, and then show him that they weren't in fact the master race?
I don't know about that.
Don't see Andy speechless very often.
I'm
but
not
there you
sure.
go.
I think maybe you're adding a bit of credibility to someone if you actually accept the game against them.
No, I
Don't pull
think
out of it.
you're making more of it by making a big deal out of it. You ignore the guy, then he just feels like an idiot for wearing it. He's like the only guy to come fancy dressed to the party. But by making a big deal out and making such a thing out of it, and they've made it into news, which is silly.
I think there is a line though, and I think from what I've heard and read, then it was crossed.
I think people are too sensitive, to be honest. I mean, look, if the guy was spouting out nonsense, fair enough. But you can't
Wouldn't that be people being too sensitive as well if he was spouting off nonsense and they weren't just ignoring him and defeating him on the table to show that his
that's direct
action is
insult to
inferior?
people. Well, you can't say
There's
that anyone can be who
iconography
they
and
want,
symbols that are
but certain people
considered
can't.
iconography and symbols that are considered deeply hurtful to people, particularly certain groups of people.
Yeah, I get that, but they ripped off that image from Aryan culture, which is old Persian culture. To me, I don't see it as that at all. I mean, Hitler just ripped off all his iconography from other cultures. So
Mickey Jenver says, and now I understand why getting a license for RemCon is proving so difficult.
But I don't know. I just think they made a way too big deal out of it, and whatever. I'd like to see what he was wearing, though. To be fair.
Wow, wow. Well, shall we have a look at this to lighten the mood a bit? So you could win a year of Warhammer stuff. All you have to do is spend pounds. Every £10 you spend at GW on their web store till January, then you'll get entered into the draw, and the winner will win one of everything they release for the entire year.
Wow.
That includes every miniature that comes out, every book, every audio book, everything that they release.
That's amazing. I wonder how many orders do you think they get, Andy? Like,
I have no idea.
If it's people spending £1 or £100, how many different orders do you think they get? Do you think it's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions?
Who can possibly say? Except those within the inner sanctum of Games Workshop. Safe to say, though, that it's not going to set them back too much sending one of everything to one person compared to the amount of orders they get in. And maybe people are going to be ordering more because of this, because they see that vast pile and think, you know what, I want that. I would say it depends your personal motivation. Obviously, there's the motivation that financially it could benefit you, because 90% of the stuff would be useless to you, so it'd just go straight on eBay, wouldn't it? Certainly would with me, because there's no way I'd be adding stuff to 12 different armies for each game system if something comes out for all of them.
Well, they probably give a copy to people that review the stuff for free anyway, isn't it? So it's just like, it's quite clever, really. But it'll feel like winning the lottery if you got this, wouldn't it? But there's probably more chance of winning this than the lottery.
Yes, definitely.
Hmm.
Pretty cool. So if you're already spending money on their web store, and there are certain things that are exclusive to their web store as well, so it's not like you're missing out on savings by shopping with GW rather than third party, because there are certain things that you have to go to them to buy. So pretty cool. Next,
people commenting about my haircut. It's really bad, isn't it? It's getting ridiculous. Andy,
a bit wild.
Do you like your you used to have long hair as long as mine, didn't you?
Well, one thing I'm noticing is that showers are much quicker now.
Yeah, nice.
That's the main thing, and it's like drying my hair is just like, whoosh, that's it, done. So speeds things up immeasurably. Shall we have a look at some more stuff? Order. I thought you were frozen there. You were just staring directly ahead.
Yeah. So is this a limited edition, or is it a commemorative one, or is it a
Holger Clovenhorn, an aspiring champion of the Dark Gods, with the giant mace, she'll be smashing her way through that swanky new Thunderstrike armor Sigmar's choking around in. If that wasn't enough, she also carries a sword on her back, ensuring that she always has the right tool. Bit of a chaosy murder lady with a horn.
Amazing middle. I like it.
Be cool. And Middle Earth stuff. Now I think this is made to order stuff here.
Yeah,
I assume these are old because they don't look very good. Actually,
the Middle Earth stuff just looks naff to me.
The older stuff does. These ones look a bit lame. So I'm assuming all these are old actually because they don't look particularly. These ones look alright actually. And that's that. Next. So, more Middle Earth stuff. These actually look... And this is part of Dragon Week as well. Because these are... What is it? Easterling Black Dragon may not be an actual, but they're still as tough and ferocious as their serpentine namesakes. So what do you think about these? They actually look good, I think. Pretty nice. I like this.
Yeah.
shield design.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Are these featured in any of the films?
I think are they the guys that go around with the elephants?
I don't
The
remember.
Easterlings.
It's been a while since I watched any.
Yeah, that's what I'd wager. Hey, Dead Gamer's here, man. Now the party starts.
Dead Gamer has actually been quite busy lately with Hero Quest.
No, well, let's get Dead Gamer on the show, man. It's about
Again.
time. Again, or Sergeant Benton. I mean, you should come on just for the name alone. Pretty cool. Just let us know. Let Andy know. And it'll be cool. Come on the show, man. Do it.
Stylish shield design there, stylish banner. They're just cool looking models, aren't they?
Yeah. Colin Mack, always welcome to come on the show as well. He says they're not in the films. So there.
Okay. Next, we've got a rumour engine. It's a sword with a bit of horsehair dangling off the end of it, it looks like.
Ah.
So what's up with that?
Ooh. I don't know. What do you think? Elfish?
Looks a bit elvish, doesn't it? With a bit of hair danglage coming off it like that. But I don't know.
Fantasy? I mean...
It's got to be fantasy, surely.
What?
Got a gem on it. So it could be like Eldar, maybe. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. And with that, it's time for everyone's favourite segment. So get your eyeballs ready, because it's time for this.
What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it a chaos dwarf or a vampire bear? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it Sigmar's beard or Neferata's hat? Oh, what the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? Is it a mangled squig or a sorcerer's rat? Only Andy and Remington! Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know.
Okay, here we go. First one to name this miniature as it slowly zooms out is going to be the winner. Wait until the whole thing's visible, then surely you're not going to win though. So here we go. We are zooming out very slowly. It be
It's a magnified spider leg.
I think someone's going to get this surprisingly quickly.
Is it the Eye of Sauron?
Everybody, I want to see those guesses in there.
I like
Someone's-
it how Andy ignores my guesses. Great.
Someone's going to get this.
It's like a neck and a chest. No.
Someone's going to get it very soon now.
Oh, it's golden. No one's guessing correctly yet. No one's guessing at all apart from me. Oh, it's a chest. It's a body. It's armor. Oh, it's a dwarf.
Everyone's so
Oh.
terrible at this game now.
It's an Iron Drake.
Gonna have to give that one to Remington, I'm afraid.
Yes,
Audience,
I win.
what a pathetic attempt from the audience that was.
Mickey said Lord of Blight.
Yeah, we had one guess which was wrong while the whole miniature was visible. So very disappointing effort from the audience there. And just so you know, Remington doesn't have any advantage because he's just watching the live stream like everybody else to see it. So yes, it was an Iron Drake. Okay. I think that's everything. It was quite an action-packed week. Stuff on. Anything else you want to touch on, Mr. Remington, before we wrap this one up?
No. I enjoyed that.
It's quite
I
a
enjoyed
late,
our
quite a late
debate, Andy,
finish.
as well. I enjoyed our debate. It's nice to hear different points of views and things. don't you think?
Healthy debate. Would have been
Yeah.
nice to have Zato on this week, but sadly due to illness, we're going to have to postpone that show. Maybe next week, though. We'll have to find out. Zato. And don't forget, everybody, as you look at this week's thumbnail, don't forget to check out all the links in the description, all the juicy social media shenanigans. Don't forget to like the video, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord server, join the Facebook group. Don't forget to give your life savings via Patreon, of course, to keep this channel afloat during these dark, turbulent times, so we can act as a beacon of light, guiding all those hobby ships away from the treacherous, perilous rocks towards the promised land of hobby fulfillment and occasionally a little bit of tactical insight.
Nice.
Occasionally.
I think people are asking for the they're asking for the deep bath to come back.
The deep bath will come back, definitely.
And they want more still pictures of us for the title screens.
Well,
some more
upgraded
expressions.
Well, when all the Patreon money rolls in, we'll get upgraded title sequence, and there'll be even more segments. But the deep bath will return, not this week, but possibly next week. We can work it in there. And also, I think we should probably try and conclude the current season of the Foresters of Rem as well, shouldn't we? We did kind of cut that off halfway, so we'll get back to that. Pick up
Andy,
where Remington left off.
I've just took a selfie, and I'm sending it you for the pictures. What do you call it? The thumbnail pictures. Yes. I'm sending you a bunch of thumbnail pictures so you can have a play with those.
Excellent. So everybody, like the video if you haven't already, subscribe, do all the other stuff I told you to do. And special thanks to the following people who are the wonderful Patreon supporters of this show. I will go through them by name, except of course it logs me out of the Patreon page when I'm trying to load it up and look at it. Log back in. No, Patreon page isn't even working. Isn't that just great? So you know what? I'm just going to have to get rid of the thumbnail and let you look at their names at the bottom there. So all those people are being thanked personally. So look, Raccoon, Rushi.
Hello? No, I'm
David,
just taking selfies for you.
Tim, Kevin, John, Guy. Scrolls very slowly, this text, doesn't it? Graham, of course, being personally thanked. Patron, Cedar, Simon. The name wasn't all the way out and I still knew who that was. Nippleless, of course, can't forget about Nippleless. Lending tireless, nippleless support to this channel. And, of course, Brad. So, thanks to all of those people. And just so you know, if you're not currently a patron, one of the perks is that you receive music files of the various songs that are used on this show. So the intro theme, What the Hell Is That?, The Forest of Rem, Witch Coven, and anything else that makes its way onto the show musically will also make its way to you. So there are some perks. Also, you'll be entitled to enter the private patron members only section of the Discord server. Some perks there. With that, all that remains to be said is, first of all, what you seek is seeking you. And good night out there, whatever you are.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about